Good morning, and welcome to this morning's episode of the Amateur in the Morning. I am your host, the Forex Amateur, and I've been up a bit early this morning, tricked by the weather, as I thought it's going to be a nice, cool Monday morning out here in Durban, but unfortunately, the sun just came up, so it's going to be another crappy, hot day. But anyway, hope everybody had a blessed weekend doing whatever's important to you over the weekend, whether it's spending time with family, whether it's spending time by yourself, or whether it's spending time with God, you know, whatever it is. I hope everybody had a blessed weekend. As you know, on these episodes, I purely just like to go over my thoughts on the markets for the day. As it is a Monday, perhaps we'll have a look at the weekly chart and see exactly what's happening on the weekly chart. Even though there won't be much difference from last week, we might be able to gather a bit of information from there, just understanding the overall direction of the market. Before I get into this, let me throw in my little disclaimer. Remember, I'm not qualified to offer financial, investment, or trading advice. Everything I speak about on these episodes is purely my opinion. I do not recommend any specific trade or action. So if you do take any trades on your side, ensure that it's with analysis that you've done um, and with cash that you are willing to risk, because the truth is you could lose your entire investment. That's right. Trading is very, very risky, especially leveraged trading, which is essentially what we're doing. But anyway, let's get straight into it and let's talk a little bit about the dollar index. So on the dollar index, like I said last week, I was anticipating that it will most likely come back into this area in here, which is the zone that I drew up on the weekly. And then I think I made a few adjustments on the daily time frame. Looking at it on the weekly time frame, still a very, very significant level as far as I'm concerned, right? Just a few things, however, that I do want to point out in terms of that is we've got this level of structure that has been broken, right? So the market overall is in a bearish direction. It is moving in a bearish direction at the moment, right? So we've got it pushing to the downside, making lower highs, lower lows. Currently, we've broken through the previous lower low, which means that we've now formed a new low in this market, and we're most likely going to be pulling up to either form a new lower high, right? Or break above the previous high and form a new higher high, right? Forming a higher high does not essentially mean that this market is going to go bullish, right? Because it could always form a higher high and then still come back down to the downside. This is just something to look out for. However, I just wanted to point out this level of structure in here, which is something that the market could obviously come back to. Let me just change the color of this so we know what it means in the future. Let's make it black. All right, cool. So this is still a zone that I have been looking at since last week that we'd most likely come back into and get some sort of bearishness out of this level. However, one other thing as well before we drop down is we've got this big ass wick over here, which at some point does need to get filled, right? So as I always say, when the market leaves big wicks like this, it always comes back to fill either the entire week and above or into around half of this week itself, right? Because essentially on the lower time frame, this is either a gap or some sort of imbalance or something like that, right? So let's just drop down to the daily time frame and have a look. As you can see, we can see that big ass wick over here as well. Now, looking at the daily time frame, we've got this push to the downside, right? The market formed a low at this point, pullback formed a high, even though it's not a significant intermediate high at this point, pulled back and formed a lower low at this point, but has pushed up and broken this level of structure. Like I said, in terms of this structure in here, this high, not really a significant high, right? Because we don't have a proper swing high or evening star, as you would call it, in terms of a candlestick pattern. In this area here, we do have a strong swing low. So I would anticipate that perhaps the market would want to aim back into this level of structure on the weekly time frame that I did point out with this black line in here. So looking at this, I would expect perhaps for us to get some sort of break above this high in here, filling this wick, which is what I've just spoken about on the monthly time frame, and then perhaps coming in to retest some level of structure in here before we see this market bounce back to the downside from that level. So overall, looking at this, I'm expecting a lot of bullishness in the dollar for this week. Let's just have a look at the H4 time frame and let's just see what we've got on here. All right, so looking at the H4 time frame, as you can see, coming into this level here, we've got this low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Can call this entire area here a lower low, lower high, right? Or we could just call that the lower low since we've got a lower high in there. Let me just undo that. So we've got this lower low in here, lower high, came back, formed a higher low. And not only did it form a higher low at this point, what did it do at this point? It broke above the previous high, right? So that's showing us a bullish sentiment to this market at the moment. That doesn't, however, mean that we should be looking for buys because this has not been confirmed by the higher time frames. What we could see happening here as well on the H4 time frame is we could see this market. Let's just give the chopper a chance to fly overhead. Apologies for that. All right, cool. So now that that's happened, I don't know which VIP that was. But anyway, now that that's happened, let's look at this significantly, right? And let's understand exactly what's going on this market. As you can see in here, right, we've broken structure, we've formed a higher low, higher high, higher low, and we're now forming a higher high at the moment. If this market is meant to continue to the bullish side, we want to see it maintain this level of structure in here. And as long, if it comes down into this level in here, right, and maintains the structure in here, then we can most likely keep looking for bullishness coming back into this week that I just spoke about on the higher time frames. I haven't done anything, guys. Why are you circling my crib? Okay, hopefully you guys can hear me clearly. I'm just going to speak a bit louder if need be. So looking at that, right? So we've got that break above there. If price is meant to continue to the bullish side, we would expect this level of structure in here to be maintained, right? So I'm just going to highlight that level so that we know what that is. What color can we make it? Let's make it blue. All right, so looking at that, we expecting to see the market respect this level in here, right? Looking at what's happened today, like I said, I'm expecting long-term bullishness on this for the perhaps the earlier part of this week going into next week, perhaps. Not really sure in terms of the timeline. As I say, I don't make an effort of getting the time specifically right. It's just a matter of understanding what the market is going to do and what you're looking for in the market itself. As you can see, we've got this gap in here, right? So we've got this big ass gap between here. So we'll most likely come back to fill that gap, therefore supporting perhaps a pullback into here to form some sort of a high low in here before this market continues back up into that level in there, right? So that's my thoughts on dollar index for today. Let's move on to the NASDAQ and let's have a look at that as well. Looking at the NASDAQ on the weekly time frame, let's just point something out on the monthly as well. Overall on the monthly, remember this has been my monthly objective, right? Ever since this area in here, I've been projecting this level as something that the market would most likely get back into. If you have not met that, just have a look on my IG. I believe I posted it. And I think on a few episodes as well, the earlier episodes, I did speak about this level and how price would get back into this level. Looking at the weekly time frame, let's have a look at what the structure is telling us on weekly. As you can see, very, very messy structure going into the upside. Not a very strong bullish trend in itself as well, because we've got this bearish activity happening consistently throughout this push to the upside, right? So looking at that area there, looking at that area there, looking at that area there. So there's a significant amount of bearishness happening in this market at the moment. So it's not a very strong bullish trend at this point. We would most likely expect this market to come back and give us some sort of a retest before it pushes back into the upside, right? So looking at that, not really clear in terms of where we're going to be going in terms of that pullback or where we can pull back into, right? So what I will do is I'll just drop in a level here on the monthly where we've got some sort of significant as you can see in here, this is where the bullishness started, right? So if anything, if this market does pull back, it would pull back into around, say, here at worst case scenario. Remember, I always speak of the worst case scenario. The market could always come back a little bit and then continue back to the upside, right? Remember, we're still very early in the month, still very early in the week, still very early in the year. So there's a lot to be corrected over the past, what's happened over the past 12 months. So looking at the weekly time frame, I'm not really sure why my zone didn't show in here, but that's fine. We've got this strong structure pushing to the upside on the weekly. In here, we've got this last push from here, right? This bit of demand from here, which is what took out all of this significant structure, right, to the upside. So if anything, this would be the best case scenario where we should expect price to most likely come back into, right, into around this zone, give us some sort of a demand point in here, you know, some sort of a pattern, and then push back to the upside from around that point. Overall, perhaps we're most likely going to be seeing continuations though of that bullishness, because remember, NASDAQ doesn't essentially just flow on the technicals, because this is in essence a reflection of the entire world's economy is what NASDAQ essentially is. And that's what I consider it. I could be right, could be wrong based on other people's opinions. But based on my opinion, it's a reflection of the entire world's economy, right? Because the US is the center of the world's economy. NASDAQ is the top 100 companies in the US itself, right? So it's just, you look at the type of companies involved in this index and all of those things. It's a very, very strong reflection or strong indicator of how the economy in the US is going to be doing, and it's a very strong reflection thereof of the economy in the world, right? Or the world economy, if you want to call it that. Sorry, I'm not a financial guru type of shit, so the terms escape me every now and then. Looking at the daily chart, right? So we can see the strong push to the upside from here, higher low, higher high, lower low, higher high, right? Looking at that, I would want to see this level sort of respected. If the market is going to continue to the upside, it should sort of respect this level and not come back below this level, right? So if it does come back below this level, then we should be much more wary of the fact that we could see this market do that pullback that I've highlighted on the weekly, highlighted on the monthly as well. So let's just have a look at what's going to happen during the course of today. I would actually not be too keen on taking trades because the market isn't very clear, unless you're going to be taking trades to the upside because this market is predisposed to go higher, right? But other than that, because of the conflicting technicals on this market, I wouldn't be very keen on taking any sort of trades on this market, right? Because we're in a very key level. We're in all-time highs at the moment. We've broken significant structure monthly, weekly, daily, and there's no clean structure on the H4 or on the lower time frames. Perhaps you might be able to find something, but right now I can't see anything significant on here that would lead me to make any sort of trading decisions. So that's it on my side from the NASDAQ and the dollar index. Let's have a look at the synthetic indices real quick, and then we'll be done for the morning. Looking at the, sorry, my mouse actually just went out on me, just fizzled out. So I'm using the trackpad, which I absolutely hate, but we'll make it work, right? So looking at the weekly chart on the volatility 100, this is that level that I spoke about last week where we should expect some sort of bullishness coming in from that level. As you can see, last week we did get a bit of bullishness coming in on, if you look at it on the daily time frame, we did get some sort of bullishness. I did take some buys off here, I did take some buys off here, but obviously they weren't very long-term buys because I have had the expectation that price will still come back, because if you think about it, price hasn't necessarily touched my zone, right? So I want to see it come into the zone, and then I want to be making trading decisions off of that. Looking at the 4-hour time frame, let's just have a look at the 4-hour real quick. Well, you can see we're in a bit of a consolidation at the moment. Nothing too clear in terms of structure. We're in a bit of a consolidation right now. We've got a break of previous structure in here, right? Sort of a break, not really a clean break, but we've got a bit of a push above. But you can see now price has pulled back down, made a lower low. Made a low, not necessarily a lower low, because we've got this low on the side. It's formed a lower high, however, equal lows, lower high, and then now it's broken this previous low in here. So at the moment, we would expect it to just push further down to continue this sort of bearish structure into this level in here that I have highlighted, this zone right in here. And once it's done that, then we're most likely expected to give us some sort of a bullish signal to signify that it's most likely going to start pushing to the upside. Overall, I have not changed my bias on this market. I am still of the thought process that it's going to go higher, right? Even though if you look at it from a clear perspective right now, it seems to be breaking back down after breaking structure to the upside, right? What I can say, however, is this month's candle is what's going to confirm the direction that this market's going to go into. So we obviously cannot wait for this month's candle to close for us to take trading opportunities. So what we'll be focusing on is significantly structure breaks on the lower time frames to show us what's going to happen going forward. Right now, structure has broken to the bearish side, so it's a much more higher probability to continue looking for short-term sells. I want to be very specific in saying that short-term sells. We're not looking to hold sales for too long. You're not looking to hold it until you make $1 million. We're looking to take what the market gives us and get out of the market real quick, right? So that's what I'm thinking about the volatility 100. Let's look at the volatility 25 1S. Looking at the weekly chart overall, we're still bearish on this market. I did mark this level in here, and I did say that we most likely get some sort of bearishness off of this. If you look at it on last week's candle, we did get a strong bearish push to the downside, which I did participate in some of it, but not necessarily all of it. So now you can see on here what we've got this market pushing up, making a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, right? After forming this higher low, it's very, very, very important to pay attention to this. After forming this higher low, we have now failed to break above this higher high. We have failed to break above it. Now, whether it's going to break above or not is not something that I am currently trying to predict. All I'm looking to see is if this market breaks below this level and closes below this level, then I would most likely be looking to take sells from here back down into the downside, down into, say, around this previous low here. And let's see what happens from that point on, right? So down into this previous low, and then from that point, I'll be looking to see what happens. Let's have a look at the 4-hour time frame and let's see what it can tell us. Right, so looking really, really nicely or really clear on the 4-hour time frame, you can see that we formed this sort of corrective structure to the upside. We've hit this level in here where I did anticipate bearishness. We've now rejected it significantly quite a few times, right? But I would still be looking for structure breaks to the downside, and then I'll be looking to get in on those retests. If we have a look on the 1-hour time frame, even on here at the moment, we have not had any significant structure breaks. However, I am looking to take sales on this market perhaps for the rest of the week in order to continue that bearishness back to the downside. So that's it from my side. I believe I've covered all of my thoughts without giving away too much as well, because remember, like I said, the goal of this is to just give you the bias there of what I'm looking at for educational purposes. And you still need to go in and do your homework. You still need to go in and look for your trading opportunities. Not that I'm saying that you should be trading, or not that I'm promoting trading, but that is completely your choice, right? I do not want to influence anybody's decision with the cash that they are trading or with the cash that they're making. So that's it from my side. Until next time, it has been a pleasure as always to share with you guys, and I am wishing you a blessed and a profitable trading day.